She's also been a somewhat regular caller, and we appreciate her time, her expertise on a lot of different things. And she is a Tea Party activist in the area. Her name is Jen Ezel. Jen, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Lee. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you for being on. Listen, being pretty much the grassroots, if you will, of the Tea Party here in this area, and obviously this whole IRS scenario and targeting certain groups, including Tea Party groups, can you just give me your impression on what has happened here?
Yeah. First of all, it's not a surprise to me that this is happening. I've been aware of this actually since 2010, early in 2010. I do have questions on why it's coming out now, but what has happened is back in, I think it was like March or April 2010, we started hearing from some of the groups across the country that, that had applied for tax status, that they were getting sent back requests for more information from the IRS. I mean, things about their members list, their donors, questions on their past, present, future activities, just copious amounts of document requests that didn't seem right, emails, websites, social media stuff. And these requests weren't just, a one-time thing. It was like in drips and drabs. They complete something and then they get something else. And some of these had very tight constraints, a week, 2 weeks, or a month to comply with. And people were wondering what was happening, so we were directing people to try to, seek out lawyers in their area or so forth. And then some of these members actually did that, and they started going to different lawyers and started pursuing it that way. Complaints were made to some of the congressmen, and I think that it was asked last year to investigate. So shortly after that, I guess the IRS changed their scope of who they were searching for and went from Tea Party groups and Patriot groups and things like that to other groups and continued on from there.
All right, but let's be clear, too, about the actual things that the IRS were targeting. They were targeting groups, but they were targeting people who are going for a certain type of status, if you will, when they're filing for a tax-free status, right?
Right.
It wasn't just the average, everyday Tea Party person. They weren't necessarily getting targeted, right?
If they were a Tea Party group, there's over 100 that I believe that felt they were targeted and that were complaining over the last 3 years. As an individual person, I don't know if they were being audited or anything. This wasn't having anything to do with auditing their taxes. This was just, trying to get the tax status of a 501c3 or C4.
All right. And
what's funny is I'd like someone to look into how quickly the Occupy New York group got their tax status, because they came out, was it 2011, and was making a big deal and everything. They did get a tax status, or they did apply for it. So I wonder if they were put under the same scrutiny as the conservatives were.
Well, that's not the case. In fact, when you look at the list, there's no move-ons, there's no NPRs, there's none of those on the list, right?
No, not that I know of, no.
So what do you think's going to happen here? What do you think the end result's going to be?
Well, I think that there will be, hearings and people will be called in to question. I think that those that were in the Cincinnati office that overlooked this type of application process, I'm not sure if they were the only department, but it seems that they were for the tax status. So when you hear that they're saying it's only one office, just one office did it, well, that one office might be the only office that covers all this stuff. We need to find out if that's true or not.
All right. Now, you yourself here in the state of Connecticut, the Tea Parties, as far as you know, they really weren't targeted, right?
We did not, as far as I know our group did not apply for tax status. And when you think about it, why would we want to? One of the things that our vision is to be free from government intrusion. When you're applying for a tax status, you are, in effect, asking for permission to do something, and the government will give you permission to do that with strings attached. That's what we're trying to get away from, is the government intruding in our lives. The thing that people need to understand is every time you turn to your government, you're going to be limited. You're giving them power over you. And in order to get something from them, if you want to be free, you have to stop doing that. You really need to think about what you're asking from your government and what you're willing to give up. We weren't willing to give up our freedom of speech. That's what happens if you're going with these tax status. You are going to be limited in what you can say or do.
Jen Ezel is her name. She is a Tea Party activist here in the state of Connecticut. And again, we appreciate her time this morning talking about a couple different things, from starting out talking about this whole IRS scenario. Now, you kind of want to talk a little bit about Benghazi, too. You wanted to mix that all together. While I have you on the phone, give me your thoughts on what's going on there.
Well, I want to go first. There's a couple of things. I want to look at this whole, what's happening with our government and trusting our government, and why is all this happening. You know, in 2009, the Department of Homeland Security came out with a report that pretty much was putting people like myself and others who speak out against the government as right-wing extremists who need to be watched. You know, anyone that's against illegal immigration, increased federal power and taxation, gun control, abortion, you name it. We were, you know, in their words, we were extremists who need to be watched. So that was the first thing about trusting your government. Then you have the reports coming out now about the Department of Justice and the AP phone records. I don't know all the ins and outs of that one because that's just, you know, now exploding out there. But it has to go back to what is the underlying motive for all this stuff happening, you know, with the IRS and now the AP phone records. Why did the White House have a special off-the-record deep background meeting with only 14 outlets last Friday? And why are we learning now that some of the media higher-ups from the family members work with the White House administration? And I really think it all leads back to Benghazi. And Benghazi is the one case that is really the closest to indicting Obama. The other cases are just adding fuel to the fire, you know, out there for, you know, to distract. And they all have a good chance of putting distance between Obama and the issues, but Benghazi becomes right back to the Oval Office.
So you don't think that these other two stories that have kind of exploded on the scene here in the last couple of days, the IRS and or the AP scenario, that you don't think that's going to actually make its way back to Obama? You think that'll stop short of him?
I do think so. I think, you know, I mean, you look at how they're all trying to portray it as low-level employees. It's always low-level employees. And it's not going to be, you know, I don't think it's direct, but it's implicit line back, just in the way that our political leaders have attacked those who question the government. The whole scenario has been that we're racist or we're this or we're that, nothing leading back to what the actual cause was, trying to blur the lines. And I think that a lot of this is just trying to blur the news and confuse it, and then when we get back to about Benghazi, you know, and when more hearings come up, it's going to be, oh, that's old news, we've already been through this, and let's move on. And that's what I think is the underlying aspects of all this different stuff coming out.
How hands-on do you think Obama was when it comes to Benghazi?
Well, we officially know that he was only hands-on for one short briefing at 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon of the attack, and he was missing for 7 hours. What happened in those 7 hours, what he was doing those 7 hours, none of us know. But I don't think he can escape this. I think it's going to come right back to him, just because we have video clips, you know, clips of him out there for days and weeks afterwards, still trying to bring it back to that movie.
All right, give me the worst-case scenario, if you will, for the Obama administration as far as all these things go. You think? I mean, you think he's going to get impeached? And if so, I mean, he's not going to get kicked out of office for any of this stuff.
That's going to determine how our government officials really see their position as leaders in this country. Are they going to follow the laws? Or are they going to bend the laws because of political ideology?
All right, Jen, what's the Tea Party doing now?
A lot of the people are involved more in their local and the state level issues than national. We have to change what's happening at the local level, especially here in Connecticut. It's very, very difficult because we are a very blue state. I do hope that people will, you know, just do like what our founding fathers wanted us to do. They wanted us to be involved. They wanted us to ask questions. They did not want us to trust our government. That was the one thing that they felt, was that it was up to us as individuals to be leading our government, directing our government, and constraining the government. It's not supposed to be for the government to be making all these laws, leading us and telling us what to do, and really tying our hands behind our back. I just have one last thing I'd like to say very, very quickly, and it's about the Tea Party that the left cannot attack. We were right on Obamacare. We were right on the GM bailout, the Budget Control Act, the stimulus, and many other government programs and debates and issues. People who disagree with the conservative Tea Party have mocked us because we say we don't trust our government. Well, this is another told you so. You have reason not to trust your government, and you're seeing it in your face right now.
Jen, good stuff. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Jen Ezel, always a pleasure to talk with her. And again, tea parties still alive and well here in the state of Connecticut. All right, before we move on, let me tell you about my friends over at Spring.